Hello again to all the fine folks tuning in whenever, wherever, and however you're doing so to this podcast recap installment for episode 4 of the sci-fi original series Revival. Spoilers abound as always, so if you are checking this podcast out, may it be after you are fully caught up to episode 4 of Revival. We are back at it here discussing the fourth installment, Run Along Little Lamb. And the we in question are myself, Sean Talley, and joining me for this venture as she does, she is Liz MacArthur. Welcome, Liz.
Hi, thank you. Hi, I'm Liz MacArthur, and I am wearing the clothes I slept in.
There you go. I didn't ask for the tidbit this time, but thank you.
You
And thank you all so
edit
much.
that out.
No, you're good. Thank you all for tuning into this program presented by, hosted on the Paper Street Pictures Podcast Network feed on YouTube and wherever you get your podcast. If you are catching the audio version, the we too, we are joined once again by more we's, the co-creators, the co-showrunners, the executive producers. Thank you again for joining us here, Aaron Koontz and Luke Boyce.
Yeah, cool. Excited to talk more Revival stuff.
This one was a doozy. We are going to dive into episode 4 here, written by Ashley Park, and yeah, we'll jump right in. We open on Nithya Weimer sitting quietly in her home when a shadowy figure, who we are made to know is not her husband Aaron, is moving about in the house. The unknown intruder grabs a thumb drive from Aaron's home office and bolts for the door, startling Miss Weimer on the way out. We then see reporter May Tao getting into her vehicle and noticing that said thumb drive was left in her car on the passenger seat. And we end this cold open with a tracking shot here that kind of reveals a few tidbits. Newspaper clipping about Rose Blackdeer's death, a dirty prescription pill bottle of oxycodone assigned to none other than Martha/M. Cypress. But wait, there's more. The medicine cabinet closes. The mirror reveals a man in a ski mask who pulls off said mask to reveal Freddy Krueger. No, I'm kidding. A man with a very burned face, and we cue the opening credits. So this this cold open alone, yeah.
What the fuck, guys? That's my question.
Yeah.
It's funny. It's funny to see what people are theorizing, like who that is. Like I will say, I didn't. There was a thought that I was like, okay, some people might not immediately know who this is, but at the same time, like I think. Because there's a shot in the first episode where, say, Dana's driving to a cemetery, and then all of a sudden there's a burnt man standing in front of her, and we did not show the front of this man. We decided to show from behind just to add more mystery for exactly this purpose. But at the same time, that is me just giving away that, yes, this is the burnt man that came out of the incinerator in the opening. So it's a fun thing to, what I like is there were comments in a few places that were like, well, how do they get out of the graves, or whatever? And well, now you're learning about the strength and the stuff that they have. They can punch through, they can get what's there. Like that's not complicated. And then they're like, yeah, and they just disregard like this guy in the incinerator and all this. And like if they think we disregarded the guy in the incinerator, boy, do they have a journey coming, because this is just the start. And there's a lot there to unpack. It was really fun for us to, recontextualize. We've said that a lot, but it's an important thing in this show that there really are no innocuous scenes and things exist for a reason. But yes, this is this burnt man who came out of the incinerator, who we don't know who that is, and or their story or anything beyond that. But for some reason, they're breaking into Aaron and Nithya Weimer's house. They're stealing something and they're giving it to the press. And so that alone is, I think, hopefully an intriguing thing. And they also were, if you notice in one, there's a masked man who's following M, right? When she makes the phone call to her father and she's waiting for Aaron, there's a man there, and that is the same man, I will say. And so, I think this is important, right? For people that are going to listen to these recaps, it's important to be like, okay, look, the clues are there. If you want to go back and rewatch, I think you'll be able to put them together. But if you want to like cut through, I guess we can give you some answers to some things. Because the answers that we'll give, I will say, on this podcast will be answers that already exist in the show, that if you need for whatever reason, but because we gave them to you, that means now you have to put it on the background and watch it again so we can get that view again on Peacock or Sci-Fi or wherever. So just that's the deal.
Yeah, us watching these in sequence down the road too, and in some kind of binge model and listening to these will have clear memory of that guy popping up now 3 of the 4 times. So
Yeah. And this show's meant to, I think we want to reward rewatchability.
mhm.
Like we want to incentivize rewatchability. Like there are so many little things hidden there that exist. But yeah, that's the burnt man. And
I,
why does he have M's pill bottle? Why is he doing like all this stuff? Yeah.
So you're like Shutter Islanding us. Is that what you're
Maybe.
doing? That's what you're
Leo
doing. I'm
shows
gonna
up
have
at the
to
end
watch
too.
this.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yes, next up, Nella walking the trash out behind her bar when she finds the cell phone that M had chucked on the ground before fleeing with Rhodey. Speaking of Rhodey, we get the first of many fun interactions and first-time meetings in this episode with the Cypress family. M and Rhodey are now at Dana's place. Dana walks in and asks, "Who's lippering?" M says she has something to tell Dana, but before she does, asked M why she didn't tell her she was sleeping with her professor. M does a quick denial before Dana reveals the cell phone. A lovely bunch of exchanges here. He went through my phone. Yes, I'm a detective. I was detecting. And, the main suspect's always the ex. He wasn't an ex. It was a fling. To which Rhodey's like, none of my business. You do you, babe. And Dana with one of the great moments of this show so far. Is he a fling? No, I'm Rhodey. And he gives her this nice little like wink and a lip click. And her reaction is one of the funniest things I've seen Melanie do ever. And she's a very funny person.
Hmm.
But yeah, she was not having his shit at all. So love this scene. Credit to Ashley Park and whoever also assisted with it.
Yeah, well, and Melanie, honestly, so much of these moments are Melanie. It's just she just adds so much to
Mhm.
Was
like,
any of that improvised?
oh yeah.
Oh, really?
Yeah,
The thing that she does, the roadie, that you were just mentioning, and don't fling my sister, which is one of
Yeah.
my favorite lines. I was like, don't, and there were many versions of the ending of that scene, and I was like, please, we have to keep "Don't Fling My Sister." It's so good.
Mhm.
It was good.
Yeah,
No, for
yeah,
sure.
it's weird. Like you write, a quick interaction or something that's there, and then the question could just be roadie, but then the way she says
Yeah.
roadie, like it just changes these stupid words that are written on the page, and they
Right.
come to life in such a unique way when Mel kind of adds her Mel flavor to it. But then that last one was completely improvised. It's a
Yeah.
fun, yeah, it's fun. I also like that it's another moment of Rhodey giving agency to M again. She's like, oh shit, you just learned that I had an affair with my professor. You're probably going to judge me for this. Like she has shame in everything she does, and he's like, no, you do you, babe. Like it's cool. Like whatever happened doesn't matter. Like it's just again, it's another one of those. Like he just is the chillest dude, and continues through all that.
Indeed. She, M, that is, then explains that she recalled someone on the bridge that night, none other than Blaine Abel. And Dana then asks them to stay put. M says, no, they're coming with her. But despite the order from Big Sister, she defies it either way and does follow her. Again, with that scene ending with "Don't fling my sister." But
Oh, I'll just say too, it was interesting because I recalled you had a note of that when Blaine is first seen by Wayne, you're like, oh, he knows who he is, or like a small town thing and what's there. And it's interesting because I think this is the first time that you're realizing, and it's Dana's specific reaction to Blaine. It's not just small town. There's a history of the
mhm,
Cypresses and the Abels, right? Quote unquote the Abels, which you'll learn more about what that means. And so the way that Dana reacts, I just want to flag is important for the audience to clock because it's like, wait, of all the people that could be on the bridge the night you died, it was Blaine Abel. Like, and the way that she reiterates that line, I think is really important. We did extra takes of the scene just to get that, and then where she goes. And I just want to say I just wanted to clock it just for the audience because I think there's knowing that there's a history, whatever that means, we'll get into between the Cypresses and Blaine's family. And Blaine, I think, is important for people to look at.
Well, and to add to that, the rewatchability aspect is important because if you know that and then watch the entire scene preceding that we're about to talk to, that underlines it as well. Just something just to track how Dana is talking to Blaine, essentially.
yeah. So that's the next scene we're about to get into with that. We're getting our first look at his junkyard/compound. She approaches two armed men first who do oink sounds at Dana, at which At which point, M and Rhodey do approach shortly behind them, and M snaps back at the dunces, the militiamen of Blaine's. He does appear and tells his men to stand down. Dana asks Blaine to recount the series of events of him on the bridge that night. He actually has answers. He has a timeline of what he was up to. So nothing kind of left too open there for Dana to poke a hole in just yet. M asks what she did to him. He points out that she was high as a kite that night, and he just had moved along, towing a car to Alonzo shortly thereafter. But he does mention a few things here. He says there was a light. M would have seen it too, an explosion deep in the woods. Quote, lit up the night sky, you must have seen it. And this is where we end with the run along little lamb line. He tells her that, and that the end of days are near. So yeah, more reaction, like Aaron said, to the way the Cypresses were reacting to him, specifically Dana.
I just want to say that I loved this scene because Blaine, what is his name, the actor?
Steven
Oh,
Ogg.
Steven Ogg. Yeah.
He's like the Moira Rose of this show. Like every line he has, he like puts his little shine on it. Like there's no line wasted.
No.
Like
Not at all.
Yeah.
even like I think he does something like or something like something weird
Yeah.
in the scene. Yeah. Anyway, it made me laugh.
No, yeah.
It's a blessing and a curse because it's so good, and there's so many. Number one, there's so many things to choose from, so it's like cutting him is so difficult. But also, he just kind of takes his time with every line, which is both amazing and difficult when you have 42 minutes of an episode, and you just want to let the camera sit on Steven Ogg. Like the camera adores him,
Mm-hmm.
and he is fascinating. Every word, every intonation begs your attention, and he is incredible. I mean, I could go on and on about
No,
Steve.
100%. He has such a screen presence, like you said, every line, every inflection.
Yeah,
The sisters. Oh, sorry.
well, I'll just say there are things to clock. There's one other thing to clock in this scene here. So number one, yes, obviously, light in the woods. That's a thing.
Mhm.
That's a clue. What the hell does that mean? Because I don't know, or maybe I do. But also when he walks away, and Liz, as you were mentioning, when he's like, oh, well, he puts his hands up, and you notice there, if eagle-eyed viewers, or not even that eagle-eyed, you have to be an eagle. You can just be normal-eyed. His hands are, there's some scarring and burns on his hands. And so that's just something to track and notice that. And
Is that the
that's
first time we're seeing that? Because when I saw it, I was like, did I miss that before, or is that the first time we see that?
you might very quickly when he has the baby, but we're not really highlighting it in episode 2. If you really look at his hands, but you'd have to like almost pause. So this is the first time we are showcasing it to the audience. Yes.
Yeah, tattoos on the front, scars on the back, and then there's one scar on the front that you'll notice.
Mhm.
Yeah. So yeah, there's a intricate tattoo that's organized with like a middle area, and there's scars on the front part of the wrist, and then the inside of the hands are burnt and not a tattoo. It's like a totally different, something crazy happened to his hands.
Right. Pay attention. Eagle-eyed viewers, hawk-eyed viewers, falcon-eyed viewers, normal viewers.
All the
But
birds.
yes, the sisters have different opinions on how to proceed here and kind of end up on their own detective quests for the remainder of this episode. We get some news footage and scenes of revivers being told to register, have their license stamped, even see some townsfolk reacting with signs in their businesses saying, no revivers allowed, plastered on the windows. Em is back at Rhodey's place. She mentions the Black Deer case, a name we saw in the early newspaper clipping for those normal or bird-eyed viewers. If you were paying attention, when the door knocks, Em assumes it's Dana, but no, knocking on Rhodey's door is none other than her dad. We get Cypress meeting number 2 with Rhodey. Wayne Cypress enters, and Rhodey getting a crash course in the Cypress family today. He says he's there because he's alerting all registered revivers about the mandate, but his concerns immediately turn to his daughter, of course, asking, "You're dating one of them?" In a way that, some friends of mine and Aaron's from our childhood would, their parents would ask if they were dating a non-white person. Kind of in the very Wayne mode. But Rhodey does give him his ID to stamp. We kind of see what that looks like for what they're doing around town. Wayne asks them if she's going to be at her appointment. Em asks what appointment, which prompts Wayne to scold her for ignoring his calls, his texts, his voicemails. He mentions the woman Em got into a fight with at the bar did press charges, but he got her sentence reduced, because he is the sheriff, to just some community service hours. And leaves the space by saying, "Light a candle, dude." bro. I love the little additional bro that he adds to that as well.
That was improvised, by the
Yeah.
way, too. That's another one that was improvised by. So yeah, because David James Elliott who plays Wayne is a pretty funny dude. Like I keep saying like the guy should be in like a full on like romantic comedy, or something. Like I can just see it. He's got really really good comedic timing. But yeah, that was improvised. Katie, my partner, she always laughs every time at that line. Yeah.
Yeah. What's funny enough with just the light a candle, but the little like beat and then bro.
Yeah. It adds another layer to it. And yes, and again, there's that little tidbit about Blacktear,
Mhm.
we're this is now like the second, third, fourth time, I don't know, that we've referenced Blacktear, right? I mean, actually one of the first things you hear from Wayne in episode 1 is since you fumbled the Blacktear case, right? Talking to Dana. And so this is some kind of egg on her face. And then now you get a little bit more information, not just about Blacktear, but about the guy who killed his daughter, right? So pretty horrific thing happened in town, and obviously was tied to Dana in some way. So just again clocking these things.
Mhm. No, for sure. We find Cooper and Jordan camping outside of the Cypress home in a tent. They're reading some comics when a radio signal begins to fritz and they hear something outside. Something kind of between a hum, between a growl. We're not sure just yet, but Jordan reaches to the wall of the tent and a claw of some sort reaching from the outside to meet hers in a very nice, creepy moment. And lots of fun comments we've gotten about that so far. But Cooper pulls her away, which kind of makes the hand retreat, the music return to normal, and we ended at that. But that's a nice little tease of something outside.
Yeah, and I'm watching this show too closely, okay? So this happened. I yelled lobster man at the TV. And then later lobster
like
comes up and then I was like, oh, hold on, they said lobster. And now I think I don't know. If I solved the whole thing, we shouldn't say it now. We can edit this out, but might be a lobster man.
I mean, look, what is the cartoon that has like a oh no, that's it's the Simpsons spinoff.
Futurama.
Are you thinking of
Futurama.
Nordberg?
Nordberg, yeah.
Doesn't the what's the alien in this island Earth? Do they have a thing?
They kind of
Yeah,
do,
they
don't
do.
they? Yeah.
They do.
that's what I was
Yeah.
thinking.
Them too.
I feel like you're
For the
leading
audio
me
listeners,
astray.
all four of us are making claw motions with our hands on camera.
Yeah. Liz also at the beginning of that was doing a very like disgruntled claw. It was like claw, She was like not liking it. Yeah, no. This was a fun scene to do, and it was a little, kind of Spielbergian, kind of thing. You want to feel these kids and the aura of something, and we want to make sure that we're still clocking that. At the end of episode 1, Cooper hears weird sounds in the woods, and he goes into the woods.
Yep.
Right, and then you go into the woods, and there's all these dream catchers. That's where you meet Blaine, and then now in the woods at night in a tent, there's something again. And I think it was important for us. We talked a lot about what to show or not, and what to do here or not. And as we're kind of, sprinkling in what this could be. But I think it was important to see something physically interact with the tent to know there's an actual thing. There is something, a physical thing. And, whether it's a lobster, a rock lobster, I don't know.
Hey,
But
nice reference.
but yes, like, parakeet-eyed viewers, if they're watching, will see it is claw-like in the way that it touches the tent. So, yeah.
For sure. Andy is stopping by Dana's place, but it's actually to ask for advice on how to better relate to Wayne Cypress, her father. And he just wants to feel like he's being helpful, is what Dana tells him. But Andy kind of pushes back with pretty much a list of grievances that he's seen Wayne do so far. And Dana actually points out that unfortunately that is him trying to be helpful in his way. She ends up putting Cooper and Jordan to bed. The sleepover is now moved in back into the house. Jordan mentions something that other revivers have kind of said, that they don't really sleep anymore. There's been a kind of running theme about how they're not really sleeping well. Em only gets some sleep because she kind of was so exhausted when she's at Rhodey's place. But yeah, Andy overhears Dana comforting Jordan. And when she comes back out, he kind of, was a little bit charmed by that moment again with her, and asked her directly this time if he can buy her dinner and do another try at the date. We now find Wayne in the station when a woman named Diane walks in and admits to Wayne that she is not only a reviver, but alludes to having killed herself and requests that he does not place her on the registry. She guilts Wayne here, saying things like, she and her husband were there for him and his daughters after Patty, his wife, died. And despite her pleading, Wayne says he can't really do much to help her here. So, a scene I'm sure that will factor into things later.
Yeah, our
Yeah.
first introduction to Diane Dillish, who is played by Precious Chong, who's wonderful. Tommy Chong's daughter as well. And also a very funny comedian also.
Yeah. Yeah, she's yeah, and I think, clocking that is Mayor Dillish's wife, I think is important. And I think it starts to give you, so now again, it gets allows you to recontextualize some of the things that you saw before, right? I think there's a few reasons why, our mayor might be anti having segregated camps. I think especially as a black mayor in a small town, I think that could be an influence into his opinions on revivers. But then also, we now know that he has a personal connection. And so, there are people who are revivers that, you are revealing, you're learning, you're finding this out. This is another one of those. And I think again, it starts to give an idea as to a little bit. I think there's other reasons beyond that, but I think as part of his motivations and what Mary Dillish is going through. And yeah, it's a sad scene, and she's definitely pulling talking. We're referencing Patty, referencing Dana and M's mother and Wayne's late wife, which we now know was 2 years ago, right? And then we're also knowing that that was the death that she had was 2 years ago, but also that we are alluding to cancer and she was sick as well prior to this. So
Also testing Wayne's stance here a little bit, right? So like this is kind of the first time we're really seeing what it feels like with someone he knows. Revivers so far have been, a separate thing in his mind. Now someone he's really close to. And I also like the contrast between how Dana, treats Jordan, little Jordan, who's played by Flora McEnroy, by the way. I want to really quick mention is so wonderful. Was a local actor in St. John that we cast, and we were just so blown away by her. She's such a naturally talented little actor, and we fell in love with her right away. I remember, really quick story, we were auditioning her and we were trying to get to know her, and we asked her what her favorite movie was, and she's like, well, there's this one. It turns out she's like, what is she, 8, I think, and she was talking about her favorite movie was The Labyrinth, and we were all looked at each other and we're like, hired, I guess.
What?
Like, no
yeah,
question. Yeah, she's so wonderful. I love her in that scene.
and
So
she's never acted before either,
no,
by the
this is
way.
her
You
first
say
time.
actor, this is never acted before, just was immediately natural. And we met with a number of like child actors who had done
A
this,
lot, yeah.
but she took direction on such an like she understood what to do. She just got it. Like there were just these and part of her audition scene was the scene with Cooper in the locker room or the locker and all that,
Mhm.
from episode 3. And so, yeah, she's just really, really special. And then her mother, Nikki, is also part of our hair and makeup team, which was completely did not
We
even
found her later.
realize that.
Yeah.
Yeah, that just so it just worked out really, really wonderful. And yeah, yeah. In fact, I went and saw the Beetlejuice musical out here in Toronto, and then Nikki messaged me and was saying how, yeah, we took Flora to see it and it was her favorite thing in the world. She's obsessed with it, and I'm like, of course, this makes so much sense because she's just like literally the coolest kid. So, yeah, yeah, she's rad.
We let's see, M is now outside the mandated therapy session, and we find out the counselor is none other than Nydia Weimer, Aaron's
Nithya,
cancer-stricken wife.
Nydia,
Nithya, excuse me. Nithya.
Nvidia.
No, I think that one auto-corrected that time. I have it written correctly everywhere else. Um, Ms. Weimer asks if she recalls what happened on the night of Revival Day, and I will say this ends up one of the longer scenes I think the show has had to date, and kind of a quiet resetting of things in part, but also some added details here on M, her mom, who she, like Aaron mentioned, had dealt with cancer. She mentions as well. Was this got to be, I imagine, one of the harder scenes to break?
It yes, it was because For a lot of reasons. It was talking with Ashley. I remember in the writers' room we were trying to figure out which episode this was going to go into, and we had already isolated because the way it works in the writers' room is that Luke and I are kind of overseeing what's going on, and then we're breaking ideas together. We had our kind of outline of what we wanted some things to go, things moments we wanted to hit, and when we decided to make we wanted Nithya to kind of be a little bit of a bigger character and how she interacts at least with them and with the cypresses. And I was like, oh, what is the worst way for M to have to deal with, like, if she has to go to therapy? Like, you want M to be able to talk about her situation, right? So rather than have like exposition dumps, a great way of doing that is through a therapist where you're having to talk about your past and you're having to do that. So it's a nice device from a writing perspective. But then who would be the worst person to be that? The person, the wife who had cancer that she slept with her husband and doesn't know. And I just think that there was something really, so there's just like an undercurrent, throughout that conversation, and what had made it a little difficult at times, I think, and deciding which episode to go into, because we knew that episode 3 was gonna be Noelle, 4 was gonna be Ashley, and 5 was gonna be Heather, and they're all positioning of like, well, who gets the gunshot, who gets this, the shooting, and who gets the therapy scene. But I think I love the scene. It's one of my favorites. I know Luke and I are both huge fans of it, and part of that is because Gia Sanu, who plays Nithya, is just so wonderful. And again, you're trying to give these moments so that you can peel back layers of who M Cypress is and what she's dealing with, and like understand her pain and how to manage that pain, because that's so much of what she's doing, right? And managing the trauma, right, is part of her arc. And yeah, there's a few scenes like in the car in episode 1, Dana and M. That goes, probably typical network stuff would be like, cut this down. I say typical because we literally got that note and we're like, no, we're not cutting it down. Like, this is there. This scene too. It's like, oh, you could cut this down. We're like, no, we want to have these moments. We want to have a show that you can sit and have some more heartfelt and hopefully poignant conversations, especially about heavy topics. Like, I don't think you should breeze by those topics. You should be very, very careful about what you're discussing and how this stuff goes. So, and the mental health of it all, which was very important for how we're going to depict that throughout this season, and how we're handling it. But yeah, it was a tricky scene, and but Ashley wrote something very, very beautiful, and we were able to kind of go in and refine it even more from there, for the time that we had, because originally it was even longer and what's there. And but yeah, very proud of it. I think it's really special, and Gia in particular, I think, really stands out. And you can feel her. She becomes a real character,
Yeah.
at this point. Whereas before, she's the wife, quote unquote, with cancer. That's it. She's this anecdotal thing, and now she's a real character from this point forward. Yeah.
Indeed. We find Dana at Alonzo's, checking Blaine's timeline / alibi. Nice character actor playing Alonzo here. He felt like a guy I've actually dealt with.
Massimo. Yeah. Massimo? Yeah. He's
Yeah.
amazing. We're obsessed. We want to bring Alonzo
Yeah,
back.
of course.
Yeah.
It's always
We
fun when you
tried.
run into somebody
Yeah,
so
we tried.
good that you just find reasons to use them again. But
Yeah. It was just getting him back from Ontario to
Yeah.
New Brunswick, and the timing and what we could do. And we're just running out, didn't have a lot of money, for the show. So it's like only so many times you can fly people back. And but yeah, Mel and Massimo just really hit it off. And there's so much more. I mean,
Oh my
if
God.
we should show the deleted scenes or something. There's so many back and forth takes
Yeah.
of them and the fun that was kind of having. And again, that was Ashley wrote that one through and through. And it was
Is
just a
there
really,
is
really
there
funny
a
scene.
blooper reel coming? Sorry for interrupting.
I certainly
Great
hope
question.
so.
I was writing down when I was giving notes on dailies and stuff and things. I remember writing down some bloopers, and then I just lost track. I just got too busy. But there's so many. Like,
Yeah.
God, I wish we should like hire someone at some point to go through and pull, because there are so
I
many.
think we did. I feel like either Mark or Kurt, somebody was noting. It could have even been Spencer. It could be noting.
I was, as I said, I was
No, I know
noting,
you
but
did, but I
I
think someone
forgot.
else.
I stopped.
Oh, okay, yeah. Because at some point,
Yeah.
I swear. But yes, we should. If heck, I'll do it if I need to do it. But yes, I want a blooper reel myself.
I love a blooper.
I love a
Yes.
blooper reel.
It's fun. It's really fun. Yeah.
In that exchange with him, we do hear the name James Anderson, which will come up again. And Dana ends this by walking out again with another "Don't fling my sister" type line. "You're so nice, but you're so stupid."
Yes.
Which again, Mel puts her Mel spin on and just makes it even funnier.
Mhm.
Dana goes and inspects the vehicle in the lot and finds a parking pass stub for Wausau General Memorial Hospital, and it is time-stamped at 6:47 on the night of Revival Day on December 18th. M back at Rhodey's, who is giving her a massage, and M mentions that she's actually never experienced that either before, at which point Rhodey gives her a kiss. He says he can go easier, slower with things, but this time M actually takes the lead and tells him, "You're not going to break me." They begin to make out, and again, some flashes hit M from the night on the bridge. She remembers that Blaine did leave, did walk away, and a man with no scars, no tattoos, but a gold wedding ring did come up behind her and tried to suffocate her with a cloth and pulled her backwards. That's the same ring we talked about her kind of yakking up the next morning. We do overhear Blaine giving one of his radio sermons, if you will, warning of the dangers of revivers. And we're now in a space where the fitness freak Lester is holding court on an elderly workout class. One of the attendees is a lady named Wanda, who Lester, not meaning to actually harm but in doing so, but actually shouts her out as a reviver, saying she's kind of an inspiration to the living even. And this is another moment here where, as class ends, a couple of Blaine's flock, including the young man who seems a little less gung ho than the others that we talked about at the end of episode 103, they're papering the bulletin board with an anti reviver flyer. And the two older men actually corner Wanda here and, saying things. She says, "Just let me go." And one of them says, "Where? Back to hell." But they do actually eventually let her pass, but not before yelling, "The wrath is coming."
And showing their hands as well, who have
Indeed.
the same burn marks that Blaine
Mhm.
had. Yeah. So it's kind of you're seeing that for whatever reason, at least these three of Blaine's group of
Mhm.
people that we saw amassing at the end of episode 3 have similar markings on their hands. They don't have the tattoos that Blaine has. That's specific to him, but the inside of the hands. Yeah.
Mhm. An initiation of sorts, we'll find out. But back to Dana now at the hospital, checking on sign-ins on the evening of the 18th. She does ask about a James Anderson, but does notice the Weimer name, and it's Nithya Weimer's name that is in the sign-ins. Dana does put together that Aaron Weimer was leaving her chemo sessions and using them as an alibi here. So starting to put some pieces together. We cut to Dana now at the Weimer residence. She's knocking on the door. No answer, no pickup via the phone either. But we do see someone may indeed be home as they peek through the curtain as Dana does exit the property. Em and Rhodey hit the pawn shop. Not the first they've said, but they ask about rings and has he sold any lately? And sure enough, he did have a recent buyer. Despite being shut down and not supposed to be operating for a little while there, he certainly did have a private buyer. The shop owner said, he needed to replace a wedding ring that he lost. There was no meeting, no physical contact, but he did have an email to a James Anderson, no less. So M quickly clocks that name as Aaron's TA.
Interesting.
Yeah. Yeah. Interesting. Yeah, I think there's two things that potentials here, right? So like is this TA involved with something with Aaron, or is Aaron using this as an alibi? He's just taking that ID and using that, right? As far as what's there. So that's for people to decipher or figure out as that's moving along.
Yeah.
And yeah, and I will say someone, God, who was it? It was something I was listening to, and they're like, what a coincidence to go to the pawn shop and find the one place. And it's like, no, they say they've gone to like every place.
Yeah.
They've looked, they're the last one on the list. And then this guy's like, yeah, like the place has only been open, by the way, for like, what, a week? This is the 35 days. So it was on
Mhm.
lockdown. There were no businesses that ought to be open. And then he specifically gives a story about someone during lockdown, doesn't want his wife to know, right? Kind of sounds like Aaron, and what's there. So anyway, I thought we explained that, but that's all good.
Mhm.
Details.
They're just, they're not toucan-eyed when they're watching this stuff, or toucan-eared.
Yes, toucan ears.
You
We need
know?
more bird viewers.
Yes.
Yes, yes.
Speaking of bird viewing, I I'm it doesn't
Aaron
have
went to the
anything to
Beetlejuice
do.
musical.
It
Her dad likes bird
doesn't-
watching.
um, in my head, I've decided that the pawn shop guy and the morgue guy are cousins
Huh?
Hmm.
or
Cool.
friends.
You're
Maybe they
head
have a
canoning
D&D
that
game.
all big schlubby dudes look alike and must be related, Liz?
I
Okay.
think that they're friends. I think they're close. Okay,
Pawn
it's a
Shop
small
Guy.
town.
Yeah, Pawn
There
Shop
you
Guy is
go.
one of the I think pleasant surprises we had in casting. Taylor Olson, I believe is his name.
Hmm.
Who is another local New Brunswick actor, but actually really good. Was nominated for a CSA earlier
Yeah.
about a month ago,
Yeah.
and just actually one of my favorite small little um characters that show up in this.
Yeah, he was Hemmings House, Hemmings Films, who Greg and Steve Foster and Evan Otani, who were our locals in New Brunswick that were helping kind of being liaisons, were just wonderful partners for us when we were in New Brunswick. They helped kind of secure the money with the province and all this. And then when we were first scouting and stuff, they were helping us with different locations. And this was someone that I believe Greg knew was like,
Mhm.
oh, you got to get Taylor, is one of our good local actors. And he's, yeah, done a lot of stuff. And the CSAs are the Canadian Screen Awards, which were they're essentially like their Canadian Oscars. It's like the biggest award you can receive in Canada for within the arts. And yeah, Taylor's wonderful, and then Graham,
Mhm.
Graham is also who plays Randy. They're interesting. Like I could see them both being in this. They're definitely in the same world. They're both these quirky characters in what's there, which was fun. And that was one of the vital things that we had was like how do you every time there's a character introduction, you want it to feel like there's something unique about them and something different about them. um and then again, also, this is a place that says no revivers welcome,
Mhm.
and what's there.
Mhm.
And Rhodey has his ID stamped, which is just it's like such a little thing in the moment of the episode, but to me it's still so haunting.
Mhm.
This idea that like my ID now just says reviver on it, and it just and maybe it's just because of all the shit that's going on in the world right now, and it just makes it hit that much harder.
Mhm.
Of what it is to stamp someone's ID. And I think with Wanda, you see her in the car in that montage scene, that's there, and just the look on her face of like
Yeah.
what this means. And then that ties into Diane Dillish, who's like, look, my husband's the mayor. Like, if I'm a reviver, it's going to affect all this. Like, do I have to be a part of this? Do I have to do these things? Like, it's just, I don't know. It's just really, really sad. And, and seeing them in there, and then seeing his immediate judgment, like, you're not one of them, are you? I can't serve them, and yeah, it's just, but Taylor's great and really added something to that character.
Yeah.
I also love there's a subtle thing in the show that kind of culminates a little bit here, and it's seeing Rhodey kind of slowly realize what am I doing? Like between Dana and Blaine, the whole thing with Blaine, and then when he meets Wayne and gets his thing stamped, and you sort of slowly see the light go out of Rhodey as he realizes, my proximity to this person is starting to become uncomfortable a little bit with what's going on.
Mhm.
I may have gotten in over my head,
Mhm.
and that kind of culminates in this scene, and then of course the next scene we see with Rhodey. But
Yeah.
No, for sure. We do find Aaron at his work office now, checking a drawer but not finding what he was looking for. He makes a call and has a somewhat coded talk with someone on the other line, including, saying things like, I did what you wanted, I've gone too far, I've kept up my end of things, I can take you down with me. So again, talking to someone here that's possibly larger in the game than him.
there's something about this scene that I noticed the past couple times I've seen it that doesn't come across as well, that I'll clarify. So Aaron's office has been ransacked, and we
Mhm.
don't get a good. I get it's a little bit hidden because we don't get a really good view of it, but you can see a bunch of stuff on his desk and stuff. Someone has gone through, and we are sort of we're referencing the opening scene where somebody is investigating Aaron, and Aaron realized it. Aaron realized what he says. He was in the house with my wife, and he thinks somebody is basically coming after him. So Just to clarify that.
No,
Yeah.
appreciated for folks, for yellowtail finch viewers who might not have caught.
Oh,
Yeah,
no.
we'll run out of birds before this is over.
I don't
He's
know any more birds. You named them
he's
all.
he's now at downstairs at the home, burning papers in the fireplace, not suspicious at all. When Nithya walks downstairs and actually asks him what's going on, she's really now like alarmed by all of this behavior. He just tells her not to worry and to go to bed. Just not
I swear to God, if my husband ever told me to go to bed like that, I would simply never go to bed again.
Yeah.
It's
Like-
quite
He's an
short,
asshole.
with her.
Yeah.
Yeah, this is another place. Like, God, I hated so much that his name was Aaron throughout all this, and it just was so annoying. And I'm like, God, he's such a piece of shit. And Jean Paulo, who is just a complete sweetheart, who, by the way, I learned through live tweeting on last, when this aired, when episode 4 aired, and Mel said that one of the first movies she ever made, she was with Jean Paulo was on that movie with her, and they had to make out.
Yeah.
And I was like, no way. That blew my mind. Was not aware of that. But yeah, he's such a nice guy, and to play such an asshole, and yeah, and just I think, seeing what I like is, a lot of times these awful men like have these moments where, like, you see him at the mirror where you first reveal an episode, is it episode 2, where it's like, oh, this guy who's clearly having, who's married, you can see he has a ring, and is having an affair with a student, right? Already, piece of shit. What are you doing? Then he has a wife with cancer, but then he's so sweet to her and he kisses her forehead and it's all this. And it's like, yeah, of course he is. Like he's trying to cover for all this shit. And then when she comes down the stairs, and then you see the way he reacts to her and the dismissiveness of what it is. And it's like, this is who this person is. But yeah. And then these phone calls, right? And like, who is he calling? What is this about? Who is he talking to? I mean, I guess the one redeeming factor is he is saying, keep my wife out of this. If I'm trying to find a redeeming thing, right? Like that's probably the one thing, but he's burning evidence, all this. It's a lot. Yeah.
I mean, you heard it here first. One of the villains of season 2 will probably be named Luke, I suspect, at this point.
Yeah. Got to make it fair.
Right. We're starting to go into a big finish here, and it starts with us seeing M now cutting her hair, buzzing the side, and while doing so, we see flashes of her with Aaron, which lead to another flash of the night on the bridge where she was grabbed from behind again, cloth over mouth, dragged back by a man, where you see her finally lose the shoe as well. M then puts on Dana's hoodie, classic revival Skull and Bones jacket that people will still cosplay into this day, and I think will continue to do so thanks to this television program. But yeah, big moment for M as a visual cue for revival comic fans for sure.
Where can we
Yeah.
buy one of those hoodies? But drop it in the comments.
DIY. But yeah, if you have one, if you have an Etsy, let's go.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, if enough people like the show and we actually get, like good amount of viewers, I mean, we'll contact Hot Topic and do a deal with them or something, we'll find some way to get something done. We just have to, the show has to, hit that. But yeah, this was it's also the first time, Luke, this is the poem from the comic, right?
Yeah, there's 2
Or is this
poems.
the new?
No, there's 2. There's 2 M poems in the comic. So this is the second one. Yeah,
That's right.
but we reference it. That's, wonderful.
Yeah.
Tim Seeley wrote. Yeah.
Yeah, it's great, and I think it's a running thing, that we're gonna kind of play with that, which I think was fun, and we love getting into these cross-cut montages and what's there, and then yeah, there was just something about this need to shed her skin of who was the Empire, who was Martha and M, who was becoming the woman with the hoodie, and that there's a literal physical transformation, that's there. And I remember, I've had, friends and talked to women who, they go through like a bad breakup and they cut their hair and change the hair color and that kind of stuff, and that happens. And so that was a thing that we always thought about, and so glad, because we're really glad to be done with the wig in the first few episodes and like get into her hair here, because I think this is the look that we were imagining, with them and like becoming that. But I think it's nice to feel this transformation and what's there. And then yeah, I'll also flag that there's a scar on the side of her head, You know, you can kind of see there's a little ziggy zag, little Harry Potter thing going on the side of her head.
Hmm.
Um,
The
yeah,
girl
I
who
love
lived.
love the scene.
Yeah.
Love the scene. I love she gives this like everybody talks about the look with the hood, and don't get me wrong, that's rad. There's another here, coming in the woods. But to me, one of the coolest looks is looking straight down the lens in the mirror when she's putting her hand up and just like seeing herself and like feeling herself
Mhm.
and going to this like a little bit of a dark place. I think there's a you're starting to feel a little bit of a darkness in him, that's there, which I think is going to be fun to explore as we move forward.
Yeah, and just I could give her props all day, but Romy just eh, her body language changes, and it's fun. One thing for rewatchability, I will say, is watch Romy in 2, 3, and 4, and you can see the transformation happening little by little. And she's so good. And I have to give her insane credit because we shot these in blocks of 5, which means that we're shooting 5 episodes all out of order. But she does such a great job of just, building this character up where it needs to be built up. And so by the time you get here, it feels earned, it feels real, it feels organic. And that just is a credit to just how wonderful and incredible and talented Romy is.
Yeah, yeah, there was a meekness to her
Hmm.
that she shudders. She makes herself small,
Hmm.
in earlier scenes, and here she starts to take up space. And I think that that's the physical transformation, not just like looking at the hair difference, but it's a great point that Luke made of just the body language, the posturing,
Hmm.
the way that she literally hangs her head or lifts her head. All of these things play into it, and yeah, credit to Romy for how she pulled that off.
Andy actually arrives at Mel's for their dinner date here. She's dressed up. Andy kind of jokes that he half expected her to be in her uniform, as we've only seen her out of it once, even as viewers.
Uh, and they did I hear they were going to somewhere called Lick a Chicken?
Yeah.
I noted that too. Like,
Yeah.
please
Yeah,
explain like a chicken.
Lick a Chicken.
Look
well,
at
I realized I didn't even notice again until we were live tweeting that I think every episode has a chicken reference.
yeah.
I didn't know
Yeah.
that. But also, not even an hour before that, we had just gone to Farm Boy, which is basically like the Canadian Trader Joe's. We had just gone there and picked up chicken wings that I bought. And I'm sitting here, I ate some chicken wings, then I watched the show. I was like, wow, there's all these chicken references. I'm like, God damn it. But to be clear, that is a improvised line
Yes,
from
Andy.
Andy as he was leading. And I remember we were in ADR and I was like, Andy, what is the Lick a Chicken? Is that like a place you've been to? And he's like, I don't even know. That must have been in the script. Like, dude, I did not write
No.
Lick a Chicken
Yeah.
in the script. I did not add that. Actually, sure as hell didn't add that. This isn't there. And he's like, oh my God, I guess I improvised that, and so I was so confused. But yeah, he does. He references Lick a
Yeah.
Chicken. Now, also, Liz, because of the cardinal-eyed viewer
Oh no.
would know that you did reference there could be a lobster, and then Dana mentions lobster here. So
Interesting.
I'm not saying there's something going on with lobsters, but
But are you?
you you
Oh.
you said it. I'm opening the door. I mean,
Oh,
technically, we're finishing 9 and 10 right now. So I
Yeah.
mean, I don't know.
Sounds
We
like
could
the
talk about.
monster is a chicken lobster, is what I'm hearing.
A chicken lobster.
Lots of
Oh,
chicken references, lots of
Like
lobster
the new
I
references.
mean,
chicken jockey. Yeah, we're gonna take
yeah.
over the Minecraft space here.
Those are
Uh,
two top tier meats, by the way. So
Very
Fun
much.
fact: the CM and CM Punk stands for Chicken Monster. We we
oh
get our
my
first look at
God.
Phil CM Punk Brooks right here. Thank you
What
for
a
the.
segue. What a
You
segue.
guys set me up for it.
I mean,
No, we get our first visual look at him other than a photo as he phones his brothers from New York City, which they had referenced. That's where he was. I think Adam said that to Dana last episode in the interrogation room. But he needs them to get him back into town and through the checkpoint. Tony is then randomly bothered by a jerk off who wants him to finish his call, which this just Czech brother does not take kindly to, and proceeds to beat the living pee out of him with the phone receiver.
Been there.
So yeah, on both sides.
on both sides. Someone beat me up once, but I got them back.
Yeah.
You know.
Karma, man.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. It was fun. It's like how do you so originally the original plan was, and if you notice it, like if anyone was paying attention, if for the Blue Jay-eyed viewers.
No.
That was what I was going to use next. Was Blue Jay?
Shit. Well, we're
Just
running.
kidding, it's fine.
This has got to end soon because we're
It's
we're
almost
running
done.
low.
We're almost done.
But in all of the original marketing, you just said CM Punk, and we did not have the name of the actor. And so our original plan was you even hear his voice, and that's it. You don't really know. We weren't going to show his face in the that insert shot of Dana when you see all the three brothers.
Right.
You're just going to reference this guy Tony, this guy Anthony,
Mhm.
check, and you're just going to know that he exists, and you're going to meet the other two brothers, and then he would be this reveal. But you hear a voice, which was always going to be still CM Punk. But we wanted this to be. That's why he's actually on the phone, and then he turns to the camera, and we wanted that to be the reveal. So it was originally done to be the reveal, but then NBC and USA, who has the wrestling contract currently, is with Netflix, they still have some stuff going on, and they're like, no, we're gonna show that this is Anthony Check. We need to like highlight and show more, and they did all this behind the scenes stuff with him. We're like, ah, shit. So it was originally designed to be that.
Yeah.
That was the original goal. But it's a lot of fun, and it's like, okay, yeah, you want to see, it's a little tropey, I would say, in this aspect of like, how do you know this guy's a bad guy, And so we show him being a bad guy, which was a lot of fun, and we added like some blood drips, when he hangs the phone and all that, which was a blast.
And fun for those What We Do in the Shadow fans out there. The same person that Jackie Taytona beats up, and in that episode of What We Do in the Shadows, if you're a fan. So a little Easter egg there.
Yeah, he's also was our key grip.
That's fun.
Yeah.
Oh, really?
Which is why, because he was also the grip on What We Do in the Shadows, and they brought him in.
That's the way
he's
to do things.
he's getting
Tucson,
podcasts.
Arizona. Yeah. Andy and Dana are heading to dinner, arguing over the GPS when Dana reads a text from M's phone, sent by Aaron that reads, "Go to the woods to meet behind Pacers." Everybody knows that might be a reference to something. So she ends up, they're arguing about left, right, whatever. She reroutes them to the woods now. And this is where we get kind of our big finish. In the woods, Aaron is quickly alerted to M being shortly behind him to the point where he thinks maybe, she was following him the whole time. She confronts him. He swears he did not mean to hurt her. And she says, "You killed me," and begins to choke him. Again, some hero shots here. Like you said, the framing's different. Her posture's different. She just slams him up against a tree, beginning to choke him. Dana and Andy park, and she pulls her gun and says she'll be right back. Poor Andy is just striking out over and over with these attempts with Dana.
So I real quick on this, like it's so funny how quickly Andy's getting out his lines here,
Yeah.
and I love the little very quick fake out of like, oh, you're into a car, yeah, okay, that's your thing, car's your thing, I get it, because that's what he thinks is going to happen again, because she's lifting her dress, and then he's like, gross miscalculation on my part, like so fast, and I just think it's really, really funny to say that, like, oh, okay, gross miscalculation, okay, I'm so sorry, what this is, and like realizes, and like, why'd you take a gun on a date, and it's so fast and so quick, but just really, really great delivery there, in how that all works, and then also I will say, I think we're also seeing here for sure that M is strong, right? And so revivers, and there's little references to this. It's not just Arlene, right? So revivers have strength. And this is something that, Ibrahim very quickly is actually theorizing this in episode 2 as they're coming down the hallway before they get to Arlene's there. And he's like, talking about how strength actually works in the human body, in the way that there's certain pain receptors are what actually keep you from pushing beyond certain thresholds. And if you don't have those pain receptors as far as what's there, then you're going to push beyond, and how some strength can be there. And so the way that M throws him up against that tree is very clearly not normal. I can tell you for a fact that Romy would not be able to do that to Jean Paulo. Said with love to Romy. So that's just things, the clock, right? And we're starting to understand the strength that they have, and what's there. And it's not just Arlene, and there's more to that.
For sure. Back to Aaron, who M lets go of. He says, "I didn't kill you. I was there, but I didn't kill you." When a gunshot rings out and Aaron falls, Dana runs up with a gun, But we kind of learn here that she did not shoot, because a moment later, another gunshot rings out, and this time the bullet has gone through M and gone through Dana, and now Dana falls. M sees a shooter in the distance, actually grabs and fires Dana's gun at them, I believe, 2 times, but they are able to flee. And we are left on Dana, who's fading in M's arms as we fade out of episode 4. And that ending was a doozy and threw quite a few folks for a loop here.
She'll be fine,
Yeah,
right? She'll be fine.
I mean,
Oh, no.
look, I think I will say that, we talked about this in interviews. I think it's important for us to try to usurp different expectations and not necessarily do the things that people think are going to happen. So, this isn't a fake out. She wasn't like, oh, it missed the vital organs. Like, no, Dana shot and it's bad.
Yeah.
It's legit bad.
So any
And
penguin-eyed viewers out there,
No. We
Uh,
don't talk flightless birds on this show.
Yeah, flightless
We're the
birds.
only flying birds.
yeah, iron and wine. But I think there's it's just the stakes are real, is what I'll say. The stakes are real. Like, this isn't a fake out on any way. We're not gonna start episode 5 and be like, oh, she's good. She's not. So where it goes from there, I think is going to be interesting, and was really fun. We alluded to trying to write ourselves into a corner and how to get out of it. I will say, like, just for context, like, and this is them even knowing some stuff was going to happen in 5. The network was like, you can't do this. Like, you can't do this. And we were like, can we? Can we? So whatever that means, but the network very much pushed back on this. And I think was a lot of fun. But the other things that track within this, Aaron is saying specifically, he's like, I took you from the bridge, but I didn't kill you. Now, I'll just say, I don't know that Aaron's the most reliable narrator. I'll just put that out there. But I think there's something about in that moment where it feels like he's about to say something, that he's going to give us the information that we need. And one of the only things he gets out is, but you were special, something, and then, and then you shot. And yeah, and the bullet goes through Dana it's shot from the back. So I think that's also worth just kind of, if you watch it, you can see Dana reacting. She moves first. So I think it's important to determine who the bullet is meant for, right? Or at least where that starts. The person could have continued shooting and what's there. There's also a specific gap, right? So they shoot, there's whoever's in the woods shoots Aaron, and then they're waiting for Dana. And then that's when the next shot happens. And again, this is not all just for dramatic effect or whatever. This is all purposeful and will matter. So yeah, and then hits Romy as well. Or hits M as well. Romy would not be able to take the bullet. But M, I think, can.
This was a scene that I remember Aaron brought up early on when we were working through the highlights of the season, because we knew there's a point in the comic that I love where you're getting closer. Dana's getting closer to the truth, and as soon as she thinks she's got it, Aaron shows up dead. We find Aaron essentially dead. In the comic, he's sort of almost dead. It's a whole thing that we kind of don't do. But we loved that idea. We loved that idea of like, okay, we're already getting to the truth here, potentially, possibly. And then it just all goes up in smoke. You're a square one. But how can we make this worse? And Aaron, to his credit, was always like, how can we make this worse? How can we make this worse? And that was one of the first things we talked about. It's like, what if it's not just Aaron? What if it's Dana too? And yeah, like you said, you figure that out. You write yourself into that corner and say, okay, how can we do this? And I mean, admittedly, yeah, we're, I don't want to give anything away, but the next couple of episodes are going to deal with the aftermath of what this is. It's not a simple, she's not wearing a bulletproof vest, I can tell you that. So
yeah. It was just vital to, it was vital to push us. Again, we like writing ourselves into a corner. This was definitely a corner to be written into, but was a lot of fun. And within that, I think You know, there's for me too, I will say, when we were talking about the murder mystery of this and what's going on, like as I'm going through, I'm like, well, Aaron's a piece of shit. Like this guy's cheating on his wife with cancer. Like I don't want to, and we knew that Aaron was involved, right? So we knew, but I'm like, if I wait too long, I'm going to be annoyed because I kind of feel like I know Aaron's going to be involved, like
Mhm.
at least from my perspective as an audience. So we're always looking at this as an audience. I'm like, I just am going to keep to think that it's the ex, and Dana even says it. It's always the ex. It's always the partner. You know, the familial, you know, the romantic partner is so commonly, unfortunately, in true crime and all this, where it is. And as a person who's like a murderino and listens to all these podcasts and all this stuff and stay sexy, don't get murdered, and all this, like I was like, well, I'm gonna believe that it's Aaron, so we need to get to this part sooner, and then make sure that we're letting the audience know who killed him and who took her on the bridge is not as clean
Mhm.
as we think, and that this is so much more than just who killed M. And that's all I'll say for now.
Next week, I'm gonna have a pegboard behind me with red string going from chicken to chicken.
Charlie Day meme.
Yeah, with a lobster circled in the middle.
Yes.
Yeah, yeah,
No, definitely. As always, the mystery continues with Burn Man and his role in it. Is he the one he's talking to? There's so many dots not connected yet, but there's a lot of players obviously involved. So yeah, who is pulling strings? And yeah, just doozy of an episode again. That left a lot of people mouth agape, and apparently the network too.
yeah, yeah,
Which,
yeah. Yes,
great,
yes.
we're doing our job. I think we're doing our job.
Exactly,
Yeah.
exactly. Like we just, yeah. I mean, look, there's a lot of shows for people to watch on TV. Like I just I want it to be rewarding. Like if you're gonna stick with us, you've made it through 4 episodes. We want you to know, and we're just getting warmed up. You know, like truly. I mean, I think some of the craziest things happen in 6 and 8 and 9.
Mhm.
You know, go. I mean, it's this is where we're moving, and we want you to know that we're thinking about the audience experience and what would be fun for us, you know, as viewers watching a show. So it's not gonna. There are no filler episodes, you know, quote unquote. Even though sometimes those can be good for character, but this is all it's there's such a meticulous purpose to it, and very proud of how that's been crafted, and I hope it
Mm.
lands with everyone. But we'll reward you for paying
I'll save my
attention. And
rant about people talking about filler episodes for the back half of the show.
yeah, 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 yeah.
Yeah. Well, I mean, and truly, I mean, we know, I've seen comments of like a lot has happened. A lot is in this episode, so there's a lot. And I get that. And it's, it is true, but I would rather it be the case that be the case than not enough has happened, right? That you feel like things
Oh,
are
sure,
just sort
sure.
of moving slowly, and it's hard to find that balance. But that was our intention. Our intention was to look, if we're gonna do this, we're gonna swing far. So go big or go home. It was always the mindset that we had in the storytelling.
Yeah, we said in interviews, like if we're gonna fail, we're gonna fail big. We're not gonna fail safe.
Hmm.
Fail safe is really boring,
Yeah.
you know. And so we're gonna take swings. And what I will say too is, for the oh shit, for the hawk-eyed viewer, I guess that's easy, right? Did we already say hawk?
We did
Um,
early, but it's okay.
oh come
Pigeon,
on,
pigeon was right there.
I mean, the birds of prey
pigeon,
are
Morning
pigeon-eyed
dove.
viewer.
more apt, right?
There's a
Because
lot in the
Oh,
12 Days of Christmas. Just start name checking those.
it's true.
shit, shit. If I
Quail.
only knew that song.
I have a
Um,
list of birds here if you need a bird. I looked up birds.
Uh,
Um, but I think now I don't even know what I was gonna say. I can't remember what the hell I was
For
gonna
the
say.
swan
It's just
ivory, yeah.
sorry.
yeah, well, whatever. It's fine. It's there. There's lots of stuff. What are we
Yeah.
talking about?
Swans?
Rewarding the audience and making sure that stuff
Oh,
matters.
I'm sorry. What I will say is we are not going to leave you hanging at the end of the season with like, I don't even know what the hell is this. Like, I think that's all I'll say. I believe that there needs to be answers need to be given to an audience. And I believe that we give those answers to you.
Yeah.
So you're not going to get stuck and like, I don't know what the hell this means. And even in this season, we're going to give you a lot of answers. You can only ask so many questions for so long before it starts to get very annoying. And I love answering questions with more questions. And eventually, you have to start to turn that back the other way. And so just know that we're cognizant of that. We're aware of that. And it was like, what's fun for us and how that can go. And it's,
Yeah.
it might stay fun, I will say, for a little while. But
Yeah. No, you guys are doing a very good job of it. There's some people that are, you cannot please. Their brains are broken from the binge model that are, if you don't tell me what caused revivers right now, every episode, they're just mad. Like you can't please a certain little fraction of the filler folks.
the
So,
irony is they would hate that show.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
Well, they hate everything.
They would
I
hate
mean,
that show.
no, but the people want a plot. Give me that a plot nonstop, plot, plot, plot. Like, God forbid you take a moment to breathe or do a character moment. It's like, no, you're not answering my questions.
Yeah.
It all goes back to Lost. Aaron and I talk about that and how we've defended that ending, but there still were so many things left open for the people that were only watching for answers, and they got hosed, in their opinion,
I
by
still
that
have
ending.
people
But
say, they're like, what about the polar bears? And I'm like, they answer the polar bears in Lost. They
Yeah.
answer the damn question, people. Like, it's so interesting to me.
yeah,
I'm like, it's there. They tell you. But anyway, that's fine.
yeah,
I do love Lost. That is true.
yeah. But
But
hopefully,
we're
again,
not like
people
Lost.
get
I don't
along.
want people to get...
But hopefully, people are along for the ride and are invested in characters. Which, at the end of the day, Ronald Moore and other people who have showrun shows like Battlestar Galactica and guys did Lost, like, they want you invested in the characters so that it's not about that so much as it's about the journey you're taking with them.
Yeah.
So if you're doing your job,
Completely.
that is what's happening. And so far, so good. So yes, you guys are knocking it out of the park. So
Well, thank you.
yes, we're excited for more. And again, the escalation, like Aaron said, each thing is building up. This is, you guys have only seen the tip of the iceberg so far. There's a lot more craziness to come. But yeah, this was definitely an ending that left some people wanting more and wanting some answers. So
I mean, the best criticism you can give me on something is it's too ambitious. I'm like, cool, great. I'll take that. I'm happy with that.
no, for sure. So yes, again, great job, gentlemen. Thank you for joining us for this recap. We will move over to a talk with one of the stars of this one here next. But yeah, we will be back for episode 105, and the title of that episode gives you a hint on what Aaron said. Like this does have fallout. There is meaning to. Dana did get shot. There's no quick fix of like Luke said, a bulletproof vest or anything like that. So yeah, there will be some fallout to come. So we will find you next week for number 105.
Sweet. Thanks, guys.
Yeah, thank you.
Yeah, thank you.
As always.
Is that a chicken sound?
I chicken bucked.
A chicken is a
All right.
bird.
Shit.
So there you go. Full
Chicken-eyed
circle.
viewer. Oh,
It was right there. It was right there.
yeah, it'll stay there.
Thank you again to the gents for the discussion on episode 4. We now move to a chat with Revival's main star here. Beyond her winning hearts and minds as Dana Cypress, you may also know her from films including Ready or Not, shows including Wynonna Earp and Star Trek Brave New Worlds. Yes, Letterkenny's Miss McMurray herself. She is Melanie Scrofano, or Scrofano, depending on the region and your jerkiness. But Melanie, thank you so much for joining us on the program here.
I wait, I'm going back. I have no problem. Scrofano, it's fine. Mrs. McMurray.
I did say Miss McMurray. You're correct. I have a habit of actually. I've called Ms. Weimer a few times too when it's Mrs. Weimer in this very episode. So apologies all for the.
We were asking the wrong
Mrs.ing and
questions
Mr.ing.
before.
Yeah. Just when you think we have all the answers, I change the question. That's for a later date with CM Punk. But yes, Melanie, thank you again for joining us here. It was a scramble to get you, but we were so glad to thread this needle and have you on this particular episode for sure.
Thanks for having me.
Certainly. And yeah, we talked at length with showrunners Aaron and Luke earlier, but want to get your take on a few critical moments for the Dana character as well here. But before we do jump into episode 4, I do want to ask, the internet, says a lot of things about your name pronunciation, among other things, but it also says you began your career as a model and that your management submitted you for acting roles when you were younger. Is that accurate? How quickly did you know that acting might have been the path and that you were also just natural and hilarious at all of it?
That is true. Wow, the internet sometimes gets things right. That is true. I started modeling, but I'm 5'7", 5'6", really, like a tall 5'6". And I've never been like naturally skinny, so it was just like a real effort. But I remember the modeling agency that I kind of signed with also repped actors, and they were like, here, can you just read this? They kind of like made me audition for them to see if like I could do it. And they were like, oh, you're better at this. And I'm like, well, I don't want to do this. Which wasn't true. It was just, I thought at the time, I was young and I loved external validation, and I was very insecure. And so I was like, if I'm a model, that means I'm worthy and pretty, which is awful. And then I got smarter, and then I realized that, to be valued for other things is more important. And that's how I fell in love with acting.
Mhm. So speaking of that, so you come from a comedy background, and we've got to hear you improvise a little bit, I hear, on the show. And I was wondering, do you like it loosey-goosey, or do you prefer it not loosey-goosey? Because you're really good at loosey-goosey.
Thank you. I like structure. I like having a really good base. And then I feel like when you have a really good base, you can be loosey-goosey because you know what the playground is. I think being loosey-goosey when you have no solid structure or solid writing to veer from, then it just becomes kind of like a wishy-washy mess. And then it just becomes like somebody trying to be funny for the sake of being funny, rather than this is being said because it makes sense in this moment based on what we know about the facts, which are solidly in place.
Yes.
So I think improvising for the sake of it is kind of like, look at me, and irritating. And I try not to do that. I can be guilty of it for sure.
No compliments to you. I think Luke had pointed out, how much you made. There was a fun scene on paper when you met Rhodey in this episode, but you very much added your, Rhodey and the the disgust when he winks at you, along with they made sure to keep the "don't fling my sister" line in because that stuck with everybody, I guess, on the day. So.
Right. Yeah, they were very generous with. Some people don't like ad libs. I think, I think I was very grateful that they trusted me, because I do think sometimes being able to improvise, it's not so much about like, sometimes you do it knowing that they might not even use it, but it's more like because when I learn lines, I have to run them like 100 times. Otherwise I can't just let go and play. I'm like so busy remembering my lines that I can't act. It's so, but because I had so many lines in this show, I right off the top was like, is it okay if I get the gist out, but don't always nail the exact lines, just because I'll spend it, the acting won't be very good. And they were like, oh my God, yeah, we trust you, do what you need to do. And so I tried to like give the lines, but then I would also, because I rehearsed them so many times, then I would try to do it in a way that felt fresh to me, so that even if it got used or not, it was like, when you did cut back to me, I would be in the right emotional space. If that makes sense.
No, understood for sure. Another thing we'd mentioned that the fandom previously on an episode, we talked about the fandom of Wynonna Earp has been so lovely and so supportive of you and the show currently. And you're also, you're now a player in the Star Trek universe as well. But my goodness, the loyalty and the love of these Earpers, is that their official name? The fandom's name is the Earpers? Okay. I would have called them like twerps or something else, but yeah, Earpers works. But no, just it's been so nice to see, especially in a world where like so many fandoms are just toxic with a capital T. So yeah, shout out to your fandom just from that show alone for supporting this show.
They are in all the comments.
Mhm.
I know, and the thing is, like, and they always said, we'll support you no matter where you go, and like at the time, you want to believe it, but you're like, well, that sounds too good to be true. And so then when they actually put their money where their mouth is and like show up for other things for all of us, that we like projects that all of us go on and do, they come and support us like they said they would. And like to have that is such a, what's fun about our beautiful Earpers is that you aren't as scared to take risks, because you're like, I know that there is a group of people who powerfully have my back. And so then you can then handle the negative comments will come, and you can handle those better because you have a foundation of people who want to see you succeed.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
I was I don't know why, in my head, when I was picturing the Zoom, I was picturing you dressed as a cop. Uh, like you were gonna show up in costume or something.
Nice big
But
coat.
yeah, but you showed up regular. And we did get to see you all dolled up for the date with Andy in the in episode 4. So that was fun. Yeah. Are we gonna get to see that again? No spoilers.
Well, that's a spoiler then.
Okay, well, a little spoiled, a little stinky.
Listen, what I'm gonna say is that the worst thing about acting for me is in one day having to change a bunch of wardrobe, because you're like, well, now we're shooting day 5 and now we're shooting day 1 and now I hate changing. I hate it. And what I love about this show, nothing changes. I could be shooting any of the episodes and mostly I'm in the same clothes, same ponytail, same makeup, same everything. And it's luscious. When everybody's off going to their trailers to change for I'm just like, I'll be right here crushing candy and drinking a coffee. So
I get it. I felt the same way when I worked at Chuck E. Cheese. I like the uniform.
That was my first job at 16 years old. Chuck E.
Get out of here. That was my first job.
We'll table that for later, Liz. That's true. Sorry, no, Aaron can confirm.
As a Canadian, I remember seeing those commercials and being like, that looks fun, and wishing I could go.
It's not what it used to be. You go now, you'll just be sad. But yes, so maybe if not dolled up, do we at least see you out of the ponytail? That's not really a spoiler, is it?
Why would you want to see me?
You're right. We don't want her to change. She doesn't like to change. We don't want her to change. No, it was noticeable that we all clocked that in episode 3 when you show up at the punk show that it was the first time you're out of uniform, and because you've been in it so much, I think all of us like recognize. Oh wow, she's out of her police.
It's like when Dad shaves his mustache.
A little bit.
Yeah.
No, We'll wait. We'll wait and see. But yes, I think people like you in both looks. That's all we're getting.
I don't think that's true. That's fine. I will say that Dan, our hairstylist, and I called it the poner. I don't know why. It sounds like boner, and it made us laugh. So we just called it the poner. And he's like, "You're back in your poner," and I'm like, "Put it on me." And would I rock it in real life? Perhaps not. Do I love having the poner? To just be like, I don't need to be the pretty one. I have a job to do, and then I don't have to. I can't tell you how nice it is not to be poked at for hair or clothes, or because if it's always the same, it's like you never mess up continuity. You just the most they'll do is this.
Yeah, your last looks is like dab a little bit of sweat off you, maybe, or something.
Oh, maybe. And so yeah, I think about that a lot for this show. There's nothing. It's so easy.
Congrats to Dan too for getting shouted out by every actor we've had on here so far. Both Romy and Caleb were mentioning their many hairdos. So yeah, he's getting a lot of love from everybody so far. So so regarding episode 4 too, 4 also, I don't know how far into the comics you may or may not have read ahead of filming once you got the part maybe, but when you were reading the scripts for these, did this ending kind of throw you for a loop? Were you made aware of the final moment and kind of the fallout that was going to be a big piece of the middle of this season?
I had not gotten far in the comics. I didn't have time. And yeah, I don't think that I was prepared. But I love that. I love that anything can happen to anyone. I think that that's great storytelling. If you feel too safe with your characters, then there's no real stakes. So, yeah, it's exciting and scary and all the things.
Did you have a favorite moment or line or something that was just fun to shoot in episode 4?
Oh, in episode 4.
Or, you can pick something else if something came straight to your head.
Well, I can't.
Oh
yeah, we can't jump ahead.
It's funny because we shot everything so out of sequence. Like we shot episode 5 on day 1, and so it was I'm like,
Yeah, how do you
this
know? How do
this
you
one's a
know?
jumble, and I understand because she did shoot all over. This is the one where you first confront Blaine at the junkyard. This is the one where you first meet Rhodey, and this is the one where you got shot.
jeez.
Yeah, it was a big one. It was a big one.
Uh, I think I would say, yeah, the junkyard was really cool. That was the first time I met Steven Ogg. And so I didn't know what to expect. It was the first time I got to see him work, and what's become my favorite thing about him is how seriously he takes his characters, but not serious in a way that it sometimes people get so serious about their character that they screws over everyone else because they're so narcissistic about it. But he's serious about his character in a way that includes everyone else without uh, pushing anyone else down. It's just like he shows up to play, and so then I was like, oh, then I can play too, and it was funny. I remember feeling quite tense. I was, sometimes when you're opposite such an established actor, you kind of go like, is what I'm going to offer good enough? Like you get so, but I think that tension that I was naturally feeling as a person worked really well in that scene, because I think Dana would have been fighting a tension herself, like not a tension, but a tension within herself about meeting Blaine there. So hopefully it worked, but I just remember being like, he is very imposing, like he's very tall. There were just so many elements that were very memorable as a first scene with someone, and it was
I love that scene. I thought like the whole time watching him, I was like, every line he said, I was like.
We guessed earlier about how he's able to just make a meal in a good way of every line, every inflection, even his that reaction he has is so good.
And
I think oh, go ahead.
Sorry, I think to that point, like he's fearless about it. He's not like I don't know, he's never like, I don't know what to do with this line. Like he has some hard lines, and he's just like such a he's willing to play, he's willing to try things. He's never going to be like, this doesn't work. Like he makes it work for him, whereas a lot of actors, when they're kind of insecure about something, which we all are, it's fine, but they take it out on the writing, or they blame other things, and he not once did he do that.
I have a dumb question. Was that junkyard real? Was that a real junkyard?
Yes.
Oh. Did you guys junk it up? Did they junk it up?
I hope so.
Okay.
Yeah, no, it was real. I don't remember what that was, but yeah, honestly, I don't think we would have had the time or budget to
make your own junkyard.
Yeah, so no, not a stupid question at all. I think we did get lucky with finding that, if I'm not mistaken, and then also we had an amazing art department that probably helped out where they could.
No, we cited you mentioning the check house. You had an Instagram about the check house and how that too was just as is, and how amazing it was. All they had to do was add some chickens, but otherwise it was just you found it like, as is.
New Brunswick had so many characters, not just with like people, but with houses, and like there was just, I could see what the appeal was to go there.
Sorry, scanning my sheet. Oh, if this is out of nowhere. Hey, if the revival didn't happen, what do you think Dana would be doing?
Oh, getting the hell out of Wausau.
Like,
yeah, I think what she wanted to be doing was going to start life in a fresh place where she didn't have to be in the shadow of anybody else, where she could have like a fair chance at moving up in her job, and just like shaking off the expectations and the past mistakes, and like just having a chance at a fresh start, just like anybody would if they live in a bigger city where you're not haunted by your past or who you've been, and you're allowed to like re-become who you really are. So I think she would have probably distanced herself from her family. I think she would have moved to the big city. She would have called home less and less. I think she would have strayed away from her sister more and more. And it would have been a new start, but definitely I don't think there would have ever been any reconnection with her real family.
So Liz, if I may counterpoint here, you posit that if Revival Day didn't happen, that she would have still bolted, but that means M would have died that night. And I don't know if Dana would have been able to leave her dad with a lost wife and a lost daughter, even though she was jonesing to get out of there. I feel like that also would have maybe kept her there. I may be wrong.
A bad person, but
You still would have bolted. He'd been like, "Sorry, Dad."
maybe
Deal,
like
deal with all your dead relatives.
Yeah.
a little, like, because everybody deals in different ways, and maybe this is just me being a horrible person, but I don't think Dana had the opportunity to get to know what, like, she felt small. It's easy to feel small around Wayne, literally, because he's enormous, but he takes up such an enormous presence, and it's hard to even feel heard around Wayne because he takes up so much air. And David plays it so beautifully and with nuance. But I think that type of relationship is one that Dana was like, I need to escape this. I can't breathe here.
I would I would meet in the middle and say, yeah, she would just wait like 60 more days. She would console Dad and then still go. So I'm with you. I think she'd still go.
Probably what it would be. And they would get into a fight about the funeral arrangements, and then she'd be
of
like,
course.
this.
And then Mel would light a flame, throw it into the coffin.
Yes, exactly.
The whole bizarro world.
Same shit would have happened.
Yeah, exactly. So, Melanie, we thank you so much for the time. Before we run out, we would like to see if you have anything you can plug, anything you can promote, whether it's a website, Instagram, something that folks can maybe follow you elsewhere.
I'm bad at this. I am on Instagram. I like to live tweet with the show, so maybe if anybody wants to join us on I'm calling it Twitter, damn it.
It's Twitter.
Yes.
And, just on Thursdays, because I'm not heading there any other time. And we can live tweet there, which is fun. We have a few more episodes to do that. And then, and I've just been in Calgary directing a show called Heartland, which is kind of a Canadian, iconic Canadian show, but it's watched around the world. So watch that at some point.
No, for sure. We will link to the social media and to ways to watch Heartland and of course Revival in our show notes at paperstreetpodcast.com, among other places. But yes, you'll find this on YouTube and wherever you get pods as well. But Melanie, thank you so much for the time. Again, we were glad to make it work, especially for this episode where you had quite the moment that is going to have some real fallout that has left a lot of fans freaked out, wondering what's to come. Please tell me she's wearing a bulletproof vest or something. Like there's lots of pleading, like, don't do this to me.
Yeah. Oh, well, yeah. I don't think, did they have bulletproof? Yeah. 2008, they must have had bulletproof vests. That's not a new thing.
No, those were 90s movies. Come on. 80s movies.
80s movies even. Okay.
Yeah.
There you go. My bad.
Interesting.
They work like magic in the movies. You still get knocked on your ass in real life from a bulletproof vest, but yes.
I'm going to say, wasn't I in a little dress?
Mm-hmm.
I don't think there was a bulletproof vest.
Probably not.
No,
one
fans,
time.
Fans
the
are just
one
coping.
Time.
The fans are coping right now. They need to see episode 5.
Oh.
They're just hoping
So
for the best. Yeah, exactly. But yes, we won't keep you any further. Again, thank you for the time. Thank you for the conversation about episode 104, Run Along Little Lamb, and we can't wait to see what happens next with Dana, with everybody in the Cypress family.
You to run along, little lamb? Like,
I am right now. Yes, I need you to leave. We have to keep doing the show. I would never kick Melanie out.
No, well, I'm due for like my.
She's busy directing. She has things to do that are much more important than this.
Thanks so much for having me.
But yes, thank you so much again.
Thank you.
Run along, little lambs.
Will do.
Yes.
All right, we appreciate Melanie Scrofano for taking the time with us there. Episode 4 was, as we've said, a doozy with an ending that left many folks in shock. Some of those folks have dropped some comments here and there to us directly via social media, some live tweeting on Thursdays. Again, we all are not the biggest fans of Twitter X these days, but the live tweeting aspect is still like a fun thing on the night. So yes, even Romy and Dana jump in along with Aaron and others on the night to do some live tweeting. So if you guys want to follow along on Thursdays when the show drops on Sci-Fi Live, that is a thing that is happening. And we'll jump into a few comments here. Maya, who's commented before via the TV Time thread, wrote, "See, I'm still very suspicious of the professor's family, especially the wife. Now more than ever, I feel like the professor, is he a psychiatrist? I feel like he might have been prescribing drugs illegally for those drug dealers to earn money for his wife's treatment. That's why M had that whole bag of drugs. She was about to blow the lid on the operation or something. I don't know. I'm still building my case. I'm so invested." Yeah. Thank you, Maya, for being invested in building a case.
They're just typing out like as
stream
they're
of
having the thought.
Yeah.
It's just Jade via Tea Time said, "This episode was so good. It had its usual mix of funny moments like 'Don't Fling My Sister.' Fun fact, it was improvised by Mel, and heartfelt ones like 'I'm sorry if anyone made you feel like you can't be yourself.' Dana is amazing at detecting, and I love that Em is finally finding herself and taking control of her life. But this is all caps. But damn, I was not expecting that ending. WTF." And then 3 cry faces. "I need Dana to be okay. Who the fuck shot her?" And to think this is only episode 4, I'm both excited and scared to see what they have in store for the next episode. That is a good point because we're only 4 episodes in, and I feel abused.
Yeah, I was gonna say, hopefully it feels like anything can happen to folks at this point. That in episode 4 ends with the lead getting shot.
Yes.
Nan, who is at herringbone_IC on the aforementioned X, wrote, "Thinking about how Dana probably hasn't even fully registered M's new haircut because she was too busy being freaking shot. #revival.
Oh my god, I didn't even think about that.
That's a question right out of the Liz brain. Like, oh, she probably didn't register. The bangs are gone.
I'm so sad I didn't think about that.
Yeah.
Oh, I'm slacking. Valerie Ann, Punky Starshine on X, said 3 episodes into a Canadian sci-fi show and no sign of lesbians. We really are in a recession. Jokes aside, #revival. I'm enjoying #revival so far. I can't wait for the rest of the season. Hope we can see way more of the chicken lady." Me too.
Well, if you listen to this full episode, you got plenty of chicken and other fowl and other bird. And finally, there's a few more comments. We'll a lot of them are just praise. We don't want to toot our own horns too much, but just saying attaboys to everybody involved. But I do want to shout out specifically Phil Brooks' wife, April Mendez, or as many know them, CM Punk's wife, AJ Lee, former wrestler herself. She posted to her Instagram stories a nice little bit about the show, saying over a pic of her husband as Anthony Check, quote, "Not only do I love this show because the Mister is in it, I love the care that went into the mental health messaging. Someone did a lot of research or had life experience, and I appreciate the empathy." So thank you so much to April Mendez, aka AJ Lee, for that nice little note. But yes, we will see more of Anthony Check in the coming episodes as well. And again, if you guys have guys and gals have theories on these or any additional predictions, thoughts, maybe comments on things we did not cover, questions, general questions for the showrunners, you can email us those at revival@paperstreetpictures.com. We will read them on the show here. We'll also take some of the comments we keep finding off the internet, and good or bad. But yeah, that's the best way to participate if you'd like to jump in with some kind of thought on the show. But again, we do appreciate everyone tuning in to the series, to this recap installments. They've been fun to kind of engage with folks about. So before we go, I want to thank Aaron B. Koontz and Luke Boyce, of course, your Revival creators, your showrunners, your EPs, for their insight and tales of episode 4. As always, thank you, Liz, for helping me navigate here. And of course, big thank you to Melanie Scrofano. Not Scrofano, I don't care what she and her
You don't care what she says.
great grandpa say. No, Melanie Scrofano, delightful as advertised. Revival episode 4 is in the books, as is this compendium recap. Thank you all so much for tuning in. We'll find you on the next one to discuss episode 5. For Aaron, for Luke, for Liz, I'm Shawn Talley, someone who has also been told they're nice but so stupid. Saying we'll see you back here soon.